Okay, I've got it recording. Okay, so first of all, I want to say hello to everybody and welcome to tonight's Zoom. We have our special guest speakers tonight. We have Lori Harrison and Jeddie Harrison. They are our Diamond Ambassador upline. For those of you that don't know Lori and Jeddie, they're two amazing people. So we absolutely love them. So we have not only the Plexus Heart team on here tonight, but we also have the Butterfly team on here, in which we're all a part of the Butterfly team. So, but anyway, just real quick, just want to tell you guys how we met Lori and Jeddie. We met them in Ardmore probably about a little over 8 years ago. No, it's about 8 years ago. You know, because Greg had, when he got started with Plexus, he just took the ProBio 5. I got started with the whole regimen, the triplex and all that. But anyway, so it took him a little bit longer to get on board. But we went to a meeting in Ardmore. I believe this was like in May of 2013. It was a training that Lori and Jeddie had for their downline. So I talked Greg into going, and it was a great meeting. And on the way home, Greg looked over at me and he said, "I want to go, or we want to go the Lori and Jeddie route." He said how the meeting really opened his eyes. And let me get some people. So anyway, and then, you know, we said at the time, we're like, you know, hey, if Lori and Jeddie can do this, we can do this, and we are going to give it all we've got. So Greg joined as an ambassador 2 months under me, 2 months later under me. So we're very blessed for Lori and Jeddie and for, you know, paving the way for us, because they've taught us a lot of great things. And so anyway, and then in the very beginning, we remember Lori doing a lot of really good videos on Facebook. She used to do videos about, you know, gut health and fungus and all that. And Lori was known as the fungus queen. So anyway, but like I say, Greg and I, we watched every one of her videos. We learned a lot from Lori. And so anyway, so, you know, Lori practically, in our eyes, is the one that, you know, started this whole gut health revolution with Plexus. So anyway, but, you know, and then if it wasn't for Greg's family and, you know, for Lori and Jeddie, and then our good friend Cheryl that lives up in Oklahoma too, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we want to say thank you to Lori and Jeddie for everything that you guys have done. So anyway, everybody wants to hear, you know, you guys' story, you know, how you both became Diamond and life before and after Plexus. So I've got a couple questions here, and so I'm going to start out. This first one is for Lori. So Lori, what made you to decide to try Plexus?
Well, okay. I think misery, if I could just put it in one word. I wasn't really planning on saying that word, but I kind of felt miserable. I had gone through a bunch of grief, and I never was diagnosed with depression, but the only reason I wasn't, because you know how happy doctors are to diagnose you with something. The only reason I wasn't diagnosed with depression is because I didn't really go to the doctor about it. But I was trying to find my way out of, I guess, a deep, dark hole. And I definitely didn't think there was an answer for that. But being vain and having a big booty, I thought, you know, I think I'd be super happy if I lost 15 pounds, you know, like that would make my depression go away. I don't know how women talk to themselves that way somehow. But anyway, I had done everything, and I'm sure my husband was going to be happy to enlighten you of the crazy things I had tried to lose weight. And I'm talking about, I don't know if there's anything out there that I haven't tried, honestly. So if you could think of something crazy to lose weight, I've probably tried it. And so I was at that place where I'm trying to, I don't know, I almost like psychology myself into being okay with just the way I am. I'm like, this is just the way you are, girl. You're okay with it, whatever. Anyway, in that era of my life, I had sworn off of the yo-yo, because I'm going to tell you, women who've struggled with their weight know that there's not much more there's not anything that's much more depressing than if you think it's depressing to gain weight or to be overweight or to struggle with your weight, try losing 40 pounds and gaining it back. That's the worst. It's almost like you feel, on top of already feeling all those emotions, you feel like a failure on top of that, or like, oh my God, I can't even seem to manage to keep this off or whatever. So I was at that place. I was ready to cash in my chips and just be okay with it. And I saw an ad, and it felt like temptation, like the apple dangling from the tree in front of me, like, don't you want to try this apple? And it was a before and after type ad. I saw it on Facebook. And since I felt that way about it, instead of clicking it and trying it, I wrote it down. Now, I don't know who the initial person was. I'm not even sure. I felt like it was like on what you would now call marketplace, but like a garage sale site or something. And by the time I Googled it a few days later, I looked at their website. I thought the website is junk. Their before and afters can't trick me because I'm a photographer, and I know that's probably not true, but still there was something inside me that was like, maybe, what if, and it felt something was bigger than everything telling me no. I'll just say it like that. So I clicked it. Back in those days, the website said buy at wholesale. It said purchase, and then there was another option that said buy at wholesale, and I'm like, okay, is this like Sam's Club? And so that's the option I picked, and that's basically how I started. And I'm sure I would like Jeddie to tell a portion because he thinks it's really funny. I know. It's part of the answer to my question, sort of, but I kind of I want Jeddie to share. I want you to share what happened. Like, I want to say around my birthday, I had birthday money. And so October, like my birthday's October 14th. When I went back a while back to see what my join date was, like to see when my Plexiversary was, it was October 17th. So I guarantee you I used birthday money. I guarantee you somebody in my family had given me some money. And I was like, I made my first purchase. And so from October to Christmas that was sort of my trial period in my mind to see if I could make something work. And then Christmas rolled around. And this is the part I want Jeddie to tell you, because I was doing this thing that girls do. Well, maybe not all girls do this. People in my family do this where you try to justify the money you're spending in your own mind. And I was doing it out loud. I was kind of like, I've been doing this and I've been doing this, cutting out this and cutting out that. And the conversation, I want him to tell you the conversation.
Right. You're fast forwarding kind of fast.
I saw we.
It's okay. No, you go right ahead. Yeah. Jeddie, you go right ahead. What's your initial reaction to wanting to try, or for Lori wanting to try places?
I came home from working at the car lot one day, walked in, and there was a bunch of products sitting on the counter. And she asked, or I walked in, she's kind of looking at it, messing with it and everything. And I just kind of look at it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And she finally goes, are you going to ask me what this is? And I was like, oh, okay, what is it? And it was the triplex and accelerator, I think is what was sitting on the counter. And I said, well, what is it? She goes, well, it's a weight loss deal. I was like, okay. That wasn't unnormal to see something like that come across the counter here at the house. And so she talked about it for a while and everything. She said it's supposed to help cut sugar cravings and, all this stuff. And I said, okay. And she goes, well, do you want to try it? And I was like, no. She goes, well, you need to lose some weight. I was like,
I didn't want to do it by myself.
I was like, thank you, but no, I am not going to do it. And I said, you've tried everything under the sun, just back and forth off of different things. And I literally told her, you want me to go ahead? I told her, I was like, somebody needs to be here to take care of the kids after you've jacked yourself up.
That's what he said.
And I wasn't nice about it.
No, he wasn't.
About it at all. And so that was October, right after she signed up, products came in. And I literally never thought another thing about it. And she kept ordering. In December, we'll get to where she was at a while ago. She started trying to justify spending money on something. And I finally stopped her, because the reason she is because car sales usually are slow in December as far as used car sales. And so December is always rough. And we were prepared
Christmas,
for
all the things.
all the things. And so she was trying to justify spending money on something. I finally stopped her. I was like, okay, quit beating around the bush. What are you talking about? I'm not a hint person. You can't hint
not
things
a hint
to
person.
me. Just tell me what you want, and then we can go from there. And finally she said, well, I'm talking about Plexus. She goes, and I said, okay. I said, you can stop. I was like, and I had no clue what it cost us. From October, November, December, we're sitting, and I had no clue what it cost. I was like, whatever it cost. I was like, we'll get it. And she just kind of looked at me. She goes, what do you mean we'll just get it? I was like, get it, whatever it costs, just buy it. And she goes, why do you say it like that?
Yeah.
And I said, this was 11. Her dad, older sister, younger brother died in a matter of 2 years from 04 to 06. And so to say that she was sad, or like she said earlier, was an understatement. And that had been going on for 7 years. And in a matter of literally 2 months, she was turning back into the person she was previous April 04. And so I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I was like, we'll pay for it, whatever it costs. And and then even at that point, she was like, do you want it? I was like, no, I'm not going to take it. She finally talked me into it on January 1st of that year. I told her, I was like, I'll do a New Year's resolution thing and I'll take it. Fast forward to March, and that's when she told me to sign up. She didn't ask, she just told me. She's like, hey, there's this contest. She goes, I think we can both, win I think it was a cruise or something.
Yeah.
Or no, I think that was convention stuff. Anyway, she's like, I think we can both win some, prizes money, whatever.
At that point.
I was like, I don't need to sign up. She goes, give me your credit card. It's like, okay, here you go.
I had caught the bug.
So that was my, introduction to Plexus. And I'm glad she didn't ask me in October.
I'm glad I didn't too.
I would have done everything.
I couldn't be gladder about anything.
No, I think I'm more glad. Because it's been a blessing for sure. Mm-hmm. So glad I didn't stop her.
Okay, so going back to Lori real quick. I know you told us how what your decision was to try Plexus, but we know that your brother played a big part in your journey. So can you tell us a little bit about that story, if you would?
Yeah, I'll try to keep this very concise because sometimes I ramble around with this part, but I'm on somebody else's call tonight. And so basically we didn't know why my brother died. He was 28 years old, and we didn't have an autopsy done. And it was the most mysterious thing still to this day that I've ever seen. I didn't really begin to put it all together in my mind, and I'm still not sure that I'm right about this. But after I started getting well from not just the grief, but like I'm talking sinus infections and strep throat, everything it's almost like I had the cyclical sickness that just constant allergies and problems. And once those things started going away, which didn't make any sense to me, I started to dig and research and try to figure out why something that was supposed to be for weight loss and was marketed strictly for weight loss was helping with those things. And then I had told a few other people at that point. I hadn't talked about it on Facebook, but I had told people like a lady at church and my sister, my mom had started it, and I was getting feedback from people about stuff like asthma and arthritis. And so I had started making a list. I put the list on Facebook one day of, does anybody know a connection between all of these things? Because it was like, are these all central nervous system? Are these all lymphatic? Are they all hormonal? Like I couldn't figure out the connection. And somebody said, those all look like autoimmune diseases. There was my word. I was like, autoimmune, okay. And I start Googling autoimmune diseases, and I'm starting to figure out like there's something in one of these products that I'm taking that all these other people are taking. And honestly, the majority of people, that the one product that seemed to be common in everybody that was giving me this kind of feedback was the ProBio 5. And so I'm looking down, trying to figure out what on earth would be causing it. It took me a while to figure it out, that the ProBio 5 was actually helping with fungal infections. And fungal infections cripple your immune system. And I mean, literally, when I say it took me a while and so much interrogation of every person in my life that I thought was smart enough to help me figure it out. And I mean, I was asking everybody for their opinion. Help me figure this out. What do you think this is? Why would it get rid of a wart? Why would it get rid of, this doesn't make sense to me. Which the wart story, interestingly enough, especially considering the year we just went through, the wart story, I had a lot of people say, is it supposed to get rid of warts? Because my warts are gone. And I also had some planter's warts on the bottom of my feet that went away. Yummy, right? Okay. So I had asked a question about a wart, which is a virus. Okay. Warts are viral. And that question led to all the videos he was talking about earlier, where I'm walking around talking about fungal infections and how they take your immune system hostage. And then once your immune system has been taken hostage, your body can't get well from anything. And I'm teaching on it, but it was based on a question that I asked of someone in my life at that time, a family member who's in the medical chiropractic profession. And also he owned a diagnostics lab. And he, after much thinking, helped me connect the dots to figure out that what was going on is, if you have a wart, that was the question. If you have a wart, it's a sign of a weakened immune system. When warts go away, it means you did something to boost your immune system. Most people think of something like vitamin C, right? Vitamin C should boost your immune system, and it does. It's good. But the majority of people they look at what to add to rather than what to subtract. So what was tricking people, and still tricks people to this day, is looking at ProBio 5. I've never said it this way. It's coming out a different way this time. Y'all catch it, okay? Looking at ProBio 5 like it's an add to, but not also a subtract. Okay, so what I mean is, you can add vitamin C for days and days and days and weeks and months and years. You can add calcium. You can add all these things, but if your body is not absorbing it, it doesn't really matter. And a fungal infection which lives in the colon primarily, takes the immune system hostage. And how it does it is by keeping you from absorbing nutrition. And if you can't absorb nutrition, your immune system doesn't do its job. That was probably the simplest way I've ever described it. Okay, so let me add the icing to the cake here. Most people say, I already use a probiotic, moving on. But they're looking at a probiotic as an add to, where we have an antifungal. We can't officially call it that, so I didn't say that, but an antifungal probiotic. Okay. I keep hearing somebody say that. I don't know who's saying it. We have a probiotic that has antifungals in it. So you are actually making your colon, that's where you absorb nutrition from. We make your colon more porous and absorbent so that the nutrition that you are eating and supplements and anything, the vitamin C that you're taking even, is going from the colon into the wall of the colon and absorbing into the bloodstream. Did it take me a lot of research to figure that out? Yes, an inordinate amount of research. But once I figured it out, and once I started doing the crazy back porch videos where I'm walking around telling people what I think, and I think this might be what's going on, blah, blah, blah. It was at that point, I'm getting around to answering the actual question he asked me, that it started to dawn on me why I had been sick my whole life, why my sister got very sick when she moved into my brother's room after he died, and probably why my brother died. And it was probably due to mold exposure that led to deadly fungal infection. And I've probably never said that as simple as that either, but that's the truth as far as we know without an autopsy. And I base that primarily on the fact that when my sister moved into his room, she got a deadly gluten allergy. Most of the time, gluten allergies are not deadly, but she got a deadly gluten allergy. And we didn't even know the word gluten at the time. Even doctors that we took her to were like, we don't know why you're so allergic to wheat. But we figured out over time, and getting her on ProBio 5, not probiotics. Do I think that probiotics, people sometimes say, so you think a probiotic got your sister well? No, not by a stretch of anybody's imagination do I think a probiotic got my sister well. What I think got her well was getting rid of the fungal infection that was preventing her from being able to absorb nutrition, and it was causing her body to act autoimmune. I do not believe in autoimmune diseases anymore, not the way they're taught. I believe that your body acts haywire as an alarm to tell you there is something wrong, fix it. And when you begin to fix it by what a doctor will do is give you a steroid, which turns the immune system off. What it does is it turns the alarm off. So you're no longer having an allergic reaction, but the fungal infection just grows and grows and grows until it has more muscle than your immune system. And that's why people who, for example, go in because of some form of arthritis, they get a steroid injection and later get diagnosed with something big dollar like cancer, because their immune system is no longer fighting off mutant cells. Their immune system's no longer even fighting off common colds and viruses because they turned it off. And if you ask an honest doctor, they'll tell you that. In fact, they're required by law to tell you that, yeah, an immune system will turn a steroid shot will turn any type of that type of steroid will turn your immune system off. So corticosteroids, inhalers, injections, methotrexate, those types of things turn the immune system off. Plexus is a different approach, as in it's turning your immune system on by getting rid of the root cause rather than covering up the symptom, which the symptom is an alarm to tell you something's wrong. Now, I don't know if I can say the next sentence. I think I'm going to just say this as a sentence. My brother's death very much impacted my decision to be obnoxious with Plexus. My brother's death is huge behind my, what you would call, success. The fact that my videos were so filled with passion, because I know, I get messages from other people's teams. I field messages all day long, and it feels like all day long, especially in the beginning. Now it's like during that time I needed all those questions from people to help me put the pieces of a puzzle together, because there weren't people out there putting this puzzle together at the time I was looking for it. I knew that because Google wasn't giving me any answers. Okay. So I'm like, I'm taking this piece and I'm putting this together and I'm looking for, and I literally feel like, honestly, that I was operating in almost a supernatural way at that time, because I was so desperate for answers, for truth, and digging. And as I began to put information out there, more people would come to me and share their truth with me. So my brother he was my best friend. His death was hopefully the hardest thing I'll ever endure in my lifetime. And I was one of those kids that when they wrote on my report card, it was like, I made great grades, but also she always wants to know why. Like, they would tell us to do something and I would be like, well, why do you want us to do that? As a kindergartner, like as a first grader, I'm like, yeah, that's all good and fine, but why? Which drove my teachers crazy, apparently enough that they would write it on my report card. And I only say that now is because there was an attack on my childhood why, as to shut me down, girl, quit asking so many questions, just do as you're told. And now I stand on a rock and I say, I'm going to tell you why. And I will tell you why I'm so passionate about Plexus. And I will also tell you that I think my brother's death is a huge why. I guess what I'm saying is, when he died, man, did I ask some why. I mean, I cussed at the clouds. Why? And Plexus coming along helped me very much figure out the answer to that question. Even though I'm not crazy about the answer, it also keeps me in the position of, I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to quit telling people. I'm not going to let anything get in the way. If I can help other people, I feel like my brother paid a price, or my family, not my brother. My family paid a price by losing my brother. But that also was like a trade-off for answers for so many in their health. And yeah, that was a lot, but that is my answer to that question.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the next question is, now this says it's for Lori, but y'all can both answer if you want. When you started getting bigger and bigger Plexus paychecks, what did you think about that? And by this time, were you already setting goals to get to Diamond for you or for both of you guys? And how did you plan to achieve this goal?
What did you think about the bigger paychecks?
He came to me Like in April, I think, of 12, and said, she basically showed me her check, and I was like, cool. I was like, good job. She's like, well, she goes, how much do I need to make to get you to come home and buy and sell cars from the house, and help me with kids and house and everything else. We were homeschooling at the time, and we're homeschooled all through their school years. But I said, well, it'll take this much, and I gave her a number, which was quite a bit more than that paycheck. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that I used to not tell those numbers, but I think that paycheck that I showed him, I was so impressed. I was like, I cannot believe a network marketing company just sent me a check for like $384 or something like that.
Yeah. So it was,
I couldn't believe it.
I told her quite a bit more than that, to get to have me leave. And I think it was the very next month, she hit it. She brought the check to me and showed me. She goes, "You ready to come home?" I was like, "No."
He thought it was a one-off. He thought
like,
there's no way that's
that can, keep happening. And so that was May. June rolled around, and it may have been March, April, May, June. Anyway, by the time June hit, and then her payment showed, she was making more than I was making, and I did really well.
Yeah, he was doing really well.
I was doing really well at the car lot. So, and at that point, I think it was July 1st is when I came home, right?
Yeah, I think that was.
I think it was July 1st of 12 was when I came home. She was making more money than me, so I was like, oh, sure, I'll come home and do that. That's no problem. And which freed tons of time up for me and her, because I was able to help out with the kids, because she was still a professional photographer. So she still had weddings and seniors and all kinds of stuff. So it worked out really well, and Plexus kept on growing basically, even month after month after that. So
I will tell you, it makes me sad. It's not easy to talk about money to people. It really wasn't easy for me back then. Now I can see that it actually helps people and inspires people. But for some reason, that was a huge hang up for me. For a long time, I wouldn't give actual numbers and all this kind of stuff. It made me be like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking about this. What are people going to think? But I will never forget Allison Bro, who is a diamond. And at the time, I don't think she was an emerald yet. No, she probably was at the time. And she just literally took a picture of her paycheck, and it was $13,000 for that month. And I remember being like, for real? Like, I could not even believe that anything would pay like that. Like, I was like, I bet that's like rocket science money. Like, I couldn't even imagine. And I remember we were out of town, and I said, look at this girl. She just showed that she was making $13,000. And I will tell you, there's something about knowing the possibility, because you kind of have a mental, like, this is as far as this will go, kind of, if as a limited perception is what I would say, a limited perspective of what can happen. And just knowing that was even a possibility, I didn't know I was shooting for diamond, to answer the rest of the question that you asked. I didn't know I was shooting for diamond. I didn't even know how the back office worked. I didn't care about that. All I knew is it was like this, and you'll hear me say this always. Anytime I'm giving announcements for what we're going to do during a month or whatever, it's like, point your arrow at this. And that's the way I always visualize something, is pointing my arrow. And my arrow was pointed at the fact that the contests that we were winning, which they were fun, but the contests were creating this momentum in my team to where more and more people seemed to be wanting the same thing that I did. And the answer to achieving success in this business versus pretty much any other kind of business in the world is helping people choose, like, instead of competing with people, helping people. And like, for example, as a stark contrast, my photography business, I have this, I think probably it's just runs in my family. Somebody says over here, Lori, you make things so easy to understand. Okay. My mother, she's like an excellent math teacher. It runs in my family to want to share info and digest it down, or kind of break it down in a way that people can understand it, especially if you have to learn something yourself. Have you ever noticed this, that if something comes natural to you, it might not be as easy to teach. But if you had to teach it to yourself, you can turn around and teach it to other people. Well, for me, like, it's a gift, and it was hard for me to understand photography in the way that I did. Like, I taught it to myself and not teach it to other people. It was hard for me when I would see people struggling, and I would think, oh, she's my friend from elementary, and I would teach her how to, and I would think, you can't do that. You're creating your own competition. That's crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that. And that's my nature, is to want to help people and to want to do that. So this job was a stark contrast to anything I'd ever tried, where you're always looking to see what other people doing, or other people trying to do the same thing as me. Or other people. This was totally different than that. And it felt good because I enjoy helping other people. And so as people were joining and other people seemed to have their arrow pointing in the same direction as me, I started looking at ranks. And now we had already climbed up some ranks, and I wasn't even I wasn't really knowing. I had no idea. Okay, somebody just said, what was your first diamond check? Do you remember?
I have no idea. It's been too long ago.
I don't know what my first diamond check was. I will say the first check that made me go, oh, was before we were diamond, and it was a $10,000 check. Yeah. I remember, because I had my arrow aimed at, and by the way, I want to tell y'all something. I'm talking about money a little more freely now because it was so hard for me in the past. I'm talking about it a little bit more freely because I believe we're at a place in this world where a lot of people are going to be looking at other sources of income. I mean, they're everywhere looking for other sources of income. And I believe with all my heart, because I'd tried a few other network marketing ventures in my life, and I had multiple friends who had tried things. And I had a friend tell me she thought it was a success that she got a free purse. She was selling purses in her network marketing company. I can't even remember the name of the company, but she got a free purse and $11.50. She was so excited that a month, and I remember being like, oh, there's no way. And she was doing parties. She was going and setting up at people's houses and selling purses. And I just remembered thinking, I don't have the energy in me to do something like that. So looking at this from the perspective of, there are people out there. I mean, the world is crawling like ants with people right now who may not know they're looking for plexus, but they're definitely checking out their options, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now where people are in work situations that they'd prefer not to be in right now. And I think everybody understands what I'm saying. Like, perhaps, I mean, even no matter where you stand on, for example, whether people should or should not wear a mask, the fact is, if you have to wear one for 8 hours a day because you're in a cubicle or you're in a setting where you have to, there are people out there all over the place looking for a way to not have to have it on all day long. Do you understand what I'm saying? So right now is a perfect time to be talking about this, and with no guilt, because I will tell you this. Any other time that I've been involved with anything where I was trying to help people become successful in network marketing in other companies, I was being trained to tell people things in a certain way, because there were certain way things needed to happen in order for it to benefit me or my upline the most. So you want them to do it like this, not like this. You want them to do this instead of this, because if they do this, this is going to benefit you more. And I felt the dishonesty in that, and it felt very manipulative. And I had kind of begun to think, I guess that's the way all businesses are. You have to manipulate people. And that's one of the things that I love about Plexus, the aspect that you can teach people how to do it, and you don't have to feel like you're sharing trade secrets with a competitor. And then this other aspect of the fact that you can tell people a straight up answer and know that while there may be an example to where it might benefit somebody more if someone was a preferred customer versus if they were an ambassador, all of those things could make a difference, like a little bit this way or a little bit that way. But you can just give a straight up honest answer based on what that person's needs are, and know that everybody is going to benefit regardless. And that makes us very unique in this market. It makes us unique in all markets as far as but very unique in the network marketing world, where you don't have to be sneaky in order to be successful. Hang on, I feel like, I just want to say in absolute direct response to your question about goals for Diamond, that didn't hit my radar for well, we were well on our way there before it ever dawned on me that we might take this all the way. Because I'm one of those people who, if I have to be careful about overwhelm. And now
this worked it more like whatever contest was in front of us at that given time.
That's what we were doing at the time.
So we took that contest and tried to win it, basically. And that's what catapulted, just contest after the next one and then the next one.
And what he's meaning by win it, in case there's anybody new on here, not necessarily win it over someone else, no, but just like qualify for the things.
Yeah, you earn it. Basically.
Anybody could qualify for. And so that it kind of snuck up on me, and that sounds really weird if you're like, yeah, I'm sure Diamond just snuck up on you. But what I'm saying is the idea of really big goals snuck up in the middle of my hard work and in the middle of my persistence and my desire to help other people, and that big fat why that I have, which has to do with helping other people and fungal infections and all of that kind of stuff. So, okay, that's the end of that answer.
Okay, so this next question is for both of you or one of you. Y'all just take your whatever, but tell us about excuses. Did you guys have excuses in the beginning of your journey?
Oh, you want me to do it? I know.
Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, go ahead.
I do. Okay. I usually, when I talk about excuses, lots of times other people, other leaders in the company will have me as a guest speaker, and the majority of the reason they want me to ask me questions is they want me to answer the question about excuses. And that is based on the fact that they know that I can clearly and concisely say we have had no upline help in our business, as in my sponsor. I have talked to them a total of maybe 3 or 4 times, and 2 of those times they were at events that I had qualified them for. Like, I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was meeting someone who was successful in the business. They were doing great, but that was because of my work. And the only reason this is relevant, because I don't really talk about it much, it doesn't even bother me much, and that's the whole answer to excuses. Sometimes people will be like, well, if I had better this, and if I had better that, if I had better training, if I had better Wi-Fi connection, if I had better this, if I had better that, all these reasons. And it usually has to do with leadership. If I had better leadership, and if my leader was more like your leader or whatever, and a lot of comparison and stuff. And the fact is, I didn't have anybody to compare to. I didn't have anybody to compare my own journey to, or anybody's leadership skills to compare it to, because when I started Plexus, there were 2 videos on YouTube that had the name Plexus in it. One of them was with Sheila Medina, and it was recorded from the back of the room, and it sounded like she had a muzzle on, because it was like somebody recording it in the back. You couldn't even hear the audio. It was,
I don't even think she realized it was being recorded.
Yeah, she didn't even know she was being recorded. It was just like, and I was like, I was trying to decipher, what is she saying? What is she saying? And I'm like, these people live in Louisiana. We'll never get to go to a meeting. And I mean, it's weird to think of it like that right now, but I started doing videos because now I can't claim that we had no help, because I will say, like, for example, the Cuevases, Coach and Patty Cuevas, for those of you who've been around for a long time, you'll know who I'm talking about. They were way up from us in Plexus, and they were still willing to offer advice when we asked. And when there would be opportunity tours in this area, they would be the ones that came and hosted it. And so my story about excuses really has to do with the fact that above me for several levels, there was nobody. And there was nobody on Facebook even. At the time, I was looking for people. I was typing in Plexus in the search bar. I finally found like this girl named Sarah Marble, who was kind of talking about it on Facebook. Everybody was shy and dipping their toe in. we were all dipping our toe in at the same time. And this was not that long ago. I mean, none of it was very long ago. It wasn't that long ago that Plexus came into my life, and there was nobody on YouTube and nobody on Facebook talking about it. And we were still able to do something with the business, because what I think about excuses is the famous saying about, like, everybody has armpits, everybody has excuses, and they both stink. And that's kind of a funny way to say it, but when I can usually pick out an excuse from a mile away, when somebody, people will message me and say, if I only had it, they don't realize that they're stepping into a trap when they say, if my upline would, if, somebody else from somebody else's team, I wish I had more of this and I wish I had more of that. And I'm like, be it. If you wish you had it, you got to be it. And that's what I had to do, was I had to cut out all excuses. Basically, who is the person that old school motivational speaker that says you got to be hungry? I think is it Les Brown that says that? You got to be hungry, right, Karen? Every time he says that, I think that's where I was. I think that's basically, honestly, it's not what draws the line between me and other people. I think it's what draws the line between whether people are at success in this business or any other business, and whether, if they are or they're not, is if they're willing to overlook the stupid thing that their mother-in-law said, overlook the fact that their best friend doesn't want to join, overlook the fact that somebody called it a pyramid scheme, and move on past it, and you'd be like, next. Yep. Okie dokie, got it. And what I used to say, and I still feel this way, is I'll circle back around after I recruited your sister. I'll circle back around once your neighbor's doing this. I'll circle back around once your cousin is well from rheumatoid arthritis. I'll circle back around. I don't say that to them, but that's my mentality. Right. It always has been my mentality. So anyway, that's how I feel about excuses.
We're good.
They get in your way is all. I'm not saying it from any perspective except for it just gets in the way.
Yep, they sure do.
Yeah.
Like excuses. Okay, so compare your life before Plexus to life today.
That's the one I wanted you to
You wanted me to do that?
Yeah, I wanted you to answer that.
It's quite better. Just still. No, it's way better. Yeah. About a year before Plexus, actually, I had quit the tire plant in June 1st of 2011, and I'd already been at the car lot for 6 months. I was dual jobbing it there, and I'd already been at the car lot for a while. Quit the plant, kept doing the car lot stuff. Plexus came in October of 11, then I signed up March 12. Then I finally quit selling cars in July of 12. So to say my life is better now than it was then is pretty much an understatement. Because we're at a point now, we worked our tails off in the beginning, for years. And as far as go back to the excuse thing, it all depends on how bad you want something. And that's anything, house, car, whatever. If you've got hurdles in front of you and you want said thing, you're going to do whatever you can to get whatever it is you want. So, and this business is no different. Mm-hmm. There's no failure. There's just learning. You do one thing. If that doesn't work, you change your pace and you do it a different way. That's life. And this business is no different. But yeah, our life today is way better. We work a few hours, if that, every day. I've got a 3.5 acre property here that takes a lot of my time. Old 80-year-old house that we live in. And so, there's always something needs done. I love mountain biking. I've been doing that for a little over 4 years now. And so I do a lot of that. And I can do it every day if I want to go do that, or go wherever I want to go, because I can take my phone and work to ride mountain bikes. We go to Arkansas, we go to Texas, we go, different places to ride bikes. Because we can. We've done the hard things along the way to get to the point where we can do those things. So yeah, much better.
Perfect. I want to say something about that too. It's kind of in line with this question, but I read an article the other day, and it was talking about I want to say the word that they were really using as their pivot point was synchronicity. That's the word that's coming to my mind. If I figure out that it was something else, I'll tell you if something else comes to mind. But it made me think about where I saw our life heading. Like, it felt very goalless at the time, because it just felt like surviving, and it felt like clearance sales and surviving and garage sales and figuring things out. And that's, I mean, I'm no stranger to being on the receiving end of hand-me-downs and all those things. That was our life for a long time. And I don't know why I've never shared this, because I read this article maybe a couple of months ago, and it just now popped into my head. The word synchronicity, they were saying, if you want a different life, make one choice, even if it's small, in the direction of that. And so for me, this is only retrospectively that I can say that, like, looking back, I can say that this is how this worked for us. And we would be a great case study if somebody would come along and say, tell us how this worked when you did this and this and this. And I'm trying to say this, I've never said it before, but synchronicity wise, the article was highlighting how if you make one step in that direction, especially if it's a step in faith, which almost everything is in the realm of what we're talking about, how you'll see other things start to line up and other chances to make those same kinds of choices in other areas of your life. Now, the example I want to give you is the life we were looking at then was kind of a rat race life. I didn't know that at the time, but it was like, and there's nothing wrong with anybody who has their kids in public school, but for me and my personality, public school was about to pull me in every direction, because I have the personality that wants to be the homeroom mom, and I think maybe we should get the kids also involved in soccer, and also maybe we should do a 4-H, and also maybe we should do these things. And for my personality, we were about to be keeping up with the Joneses in every aspect of our life if something hadn't changed. So the only reason I bring up homeschooling is not to tell you to homeschool your kids by a stretch, because, oh my gosh, all I did was fumble through homeschooling. But that was the decision that I made before Plexus that I believe was my first synchronicity. I wanted out of something that was bringing stress in my life. And I wanted to see if we could do something that was different than what the status quo is, you know. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but I did know we wanted out. And it feels like every step I made toward getting ourselves out of the rat race and the worrying about and keeping up with and doing things like the way I believed life had to be. Like, for example, doctor's appointments. That's another thing. I thought doctor's appointments were yearly checkups. I thought that's just what you did. I never dreamed. And I always wanted to work from home, but I couldn't see that for myself because I couldn't figure out a way. I didn't think I could figure out a way. But to go back and give you the homeschool example, that was the first thing that I did, and I did it super scared. And if you knew how my brain is wired, if you could see inside the electrical wiring inside my brain, you would see why I was so scared, because I'm the kind of person that is just in every direction and all over the place, and being able to fine tune that into 2 small children and be responsible for their education is nuts. It's nuts in every shape, form, or fashion, but it was a step that was a little different, a little outside the box. And then when it started feeling right to me, synchronicity started happening. And we started seeing it in every aspect of our lives. And still to this day, there are all kinds of things that I don't talk about to anybody, that are just aspects of our lives that are outside the norm, that people only even know when they get really involved in our lives. They're like, that's how you look at that? And I was like, I know, I never would have dreamed it. And so I guess the reason I'm telling you this is from a synchronicity perspective. If there is something in your life that you want to see shifted, And if it's really important to you, like important enough to make it a goal in your life, taking one step in faith. I've had conversations with people. I never tell somebody, oh yeah, girl, quit your job and do Plexus. Sometimes though, if somebody comes to me and that's their question, do you think I should this, or do you think I should that? Should I continue to take, for example, overtime? Do you think it'd be wrong if I blah, blah, blah? Now I look at it like synchronicity. What's your goal? If your goal is to be working from home, if your goal is to be making more money, if your goal is to have more free time, take one step. Maybe, yeah, cut out the overtime. Yeah, or maybe if you're part-time, if you can go back to part-time, and you can, if you're not the kind of person that has to have a boss telling you, because that's, some people have to have a boss telling you what to do. But if you are the kind of person that's hungry and you don't have to have a boss telling you, then making one little choice, and I don't mean paying the $35. I don't mean ordering your first products, but the synchronicity. I don't know who I'm really talking to tonight, but I feel like I'm supposed to keep hammering on this. I think maybe somebody's on the verge of making a decision or something like that. But lining things up. So it's almost like, I'm a very spiritual person, and it's almost like telling the spirit realm, not just with your mouth, but with your actions. Yes, this is what I want. Does that make sense? It's almost like you have to yell. And it looks like yelling when you start homeschooling. It looks like yelling if you quit a job. When he quit his job, I knew, oh, whoa, 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 we're all in. Like this is it. We're all in now. And it was like, I was saying, whoa, 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 because I knew, even though I didn't understand synchronicity or whatever the word is I'm talking about here, I didn't understand that at the time. I did know that it was about to be all or nothing. And that's kind of like you've heard people say sometimes, you have to burn the ship. If you want to take the island, you have to burn the ship that takes you back to the coast, right? I'm not telling anybody to quit their job by a stretch, but I am telling you, sometimes you have to take those little steps. Sometimes you have to get a different environment. Sometimes you have to get out of a crappy relationship if you want a better relationship. I'm just being real. Some people are like, well, I'm just going to date this guy until something better comes along. And it's like, how about telling the spirit realm, I for real want something better. You got to yell it.
Working at the tire plant was the same way.
Yep.
Actually, I think that's probably the first.
It is.
To what has led us to where we're at today. I took a step. I've been there 13 and a half years and made great money. Hours sucked. I mean, it was hard on the family, hard on me too. But I took a huge step to take a guaranteed monthly income, or to give it away, basically, quit it and go to the car lot, and basically there was no guarantee.
That was before Plexus.
If I didn't sell the car, I didn't make any money. I mean, that's just the way it was. There was no, base or anything like that. It was completely off my performance. So I took a huge step, and that was lots of discussions, because I basically told her, I was like, we lose everything. I mean, like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we're going to have to do something else. And she's like, do it. I think it'll work. And it did. I made 3 and 4 times what I was making at the tire plant selling cars. Mm-hmm. So you have to make a decision, make a step, and stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So true. And then my part in this that I wanted to say something about is, like, comparing your life before Plexus is like the way it is now is time freedom. You have the time to do the things that you didn't have time to do before. That's the way it is with us. We're able to travel when we want to, when we need to, and so, that's one thing that is really nice about, climbing up and everything. Okay. So what are your future goals with Plexus, and where do you see Plexus heading?
Well, you know what? If you'd asked me this 2 years ago, I'd have probably given you a different answer, because things felt clearer and the water feels muddy right now. Not about Plexus, but life. And, like, for example, I don't know if we're going to be able to travel much this year. And I don't know if, convention is going to be virtual instead of in person. And so I would have felt a lot more certain about my answers. However, my answers would have been wrong. You see what I'm saying? Like I'd have been like, oh yeah, girl, I'll tell you what but I would not have known what was in store for us. Right. Yeah. But what I can tell you, what I think about where Plexus is heading kind of ties in with what sets Plexus apart. We've always been a very grassroots type company. I mean, the fact that I was digging to figure out what the ingredients were doing should have never really happened in a typical business setting. Like the company should have taught me that, right? They should have said, this is an antifungal probiotic and this is what it does. But everything was grassroots. And, it may sound like I'm bragging on myself. And that's not really the truth, because there were, at the same time that I was doing that, there were people rising up in leadership doing things like making graphics, like figuring out how to use YouTube, figuring out how to turn your camera on your phone around so that you could get a message out to people. There were all these things that you don't think of. I mean, now your 4-year-old can do it, and that's really weird to think about. But I can remember I was like, the first video I ever did, I was like super scared. And like I said, I could literally hand my phone off to my 8-year-old niece right now, and she'd do a better job on a live video than what I did on my first live video.
Yep.
So the world is very different. But us being a grassroots company, I was just telling this to somebody on the phone earlier today. We've always been very grassroots. We've broken every statistical law in network marketing up to this point. For example, if you don't do this by this, then you can't this. And if this doesn't happen by this, according to network marketing law, it won't be this. And if this doesn't happen, then this. And if this does happen, then this. All of those things we have proven false. And I don't think it's because of any reason except for the fact that we were grassroots gave us a different heart. And you know this if you've ever been on a planning committee for something if you've ever planned a party versus showing up for a party, it has a different feeling. The party that looks different to you than it does to the people who showed up. And that's kind of the point, is you want them to see the after rather than the underneath, the underbelly. But me knowing the underbelly of this company tells me its strength. And I know not everybody has the ability to know the underbelly because you weren't around at that time or whatever. But Jeddie was a board member for 5 years. And you begin to, in those instances, you really begin to understand the character of people. And you begin to understand what does and doesn't fit our culture. For example, I was at part of a conversation the other day where people were saying, if we were just a little flashier, and I remember thinking to myself, well, if we were a little flashier, we'd be a little flashier. That's it. Literally, like it wouldn't change anything except for we'd be flashier, but we would still have the same underbelly. We would still have the same underpinnings of a company that was built on completely grassroots. I'll figure this part out. You figure that part out. Okay, give me the knuckles. Okay, do you know how to work a Zoom? No, never heard of it. Okay, well, let's figure that out. Let's figure this out. Let's figure that out. None of it was handed to us. And the beauty of that is we planned this whole party. Does that make sense? Like this whole party has been planned on the backs of diamond ambassadors who weren't diamonds yet. Like some of us, Tarl Robinson, the CEO, called Jeddie when he turned senior Ruby. We were sitting at a Mexican restaurant and the phone rings. It's like Arizona. And he's like, hello? He's like, hey, this is Tarl Robinson. And it was like, what? He's like, I just saw that you skipped a rank, which we didn't really even know we had done. I mean, we didn't really know that that was a thing, meaning
went from senior gold to senior ruby
to senior. We went from senior gold to ruby to senior ruby all in the same month. And he was like, just wondering how you did it. And those conversations, first of all, they give you a bond into the whole, like, we didn't know that was a big deal. And the fact that somebody told us it was made us be super excited, but it also makes you want even more passionate about what you do. And it gives you this feeling. And I love that about the culture of our team, how we all work together, how we link arms together, and it doesn't really matter. And I want to stress this: the flashiness or the lack of flashiness, the beautiful graphics or the lack of beautiful graphics, or any other thing that you might see out there and to compare to, doesn't beat our products. Like, for example, sometimes I see people who get, you probably have friends like this, regardless of plexus, who they can't ever sit on anything for very long because something flashy catches their eye, right? And the fact is, no matter what, no matter how flashy something else is, no matter how fancy somebody else's convention is, I always look at that stuff and I just think to myself, I so sawa that you don't have what we have and you have to be flashy. Now, if we get flashy and if we do some things that make our online image look great, that adds to what we already have, but we don't have to add to in order to have it. Now, I know that's not really telling you the future of our company. All it really is singing the praises of is the difference between something that's built on a really strong, like incredibly strong foundation versus something that's not. Does that help?
Yep.
Yep. I'm glad we don't have to have Flash, even though Flash could be fun. So there's that.
Okay, so tell us about asking. We know you learned something from the Chicken of the Soup authors, so tell us about it.
I got to hear them speak this last weekend, and they are, I never knew anything about them. I've had their calendar or their little flip calendar, those kind of things. I love their little quotes and I love their stories, but I didn't know anything. I never even thought to look into their story, and listen to them speak was like, this is amazing. They set a goal. I won't give you their whole story, but basically their story looked a lot like our story in that they were, didn't have a pot to piss in kind of thing. And they basically I think no one has sold more books than them in the world. They are the number one, millions and millions of books that they have sold. And the thing that they talked about that really resonated with me was asking. And interestingly, that really, I wasn't thinking about it like this when I was saying it, but the synchronicity thing I was talking about earlier is sort of the same thing as asking. Meaning, if you know what direction you want to head, and you just are just mulling it around inside your hamster wheel in your head instead of asking the questions. And they were talking about from a spiritual perspective, putting it out there and just ask questions, as in something as simple as, what am I supposed to do today? Is there something I'm missing? They said that whether you look at it, whatever you look at it, if you look at it like it's God or it's the universe or whatever, the fact remains that if you don't ask, you don't get answers. True, isn't it? Yeah. It's true. If you don't ask a question, you don't get answers. And it's weird. When they were doing that, I thought, man, I can see both sides of that in my life. I can see times when I just struggled with a problem, not a question. I struggled with a problem and never found an answer. But then I also see places in my life where I struggled with a problem and started asking questions, sometimes to a person even, like somebody in my life. Do you know anything about this? Have you ever tried this? Like, for example, homeschooling. I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you help me? Can you figure, do I have to unenroll my kids from school? Am I going to get in trouble if do I have to take an achievement test? Do I have to? All of those are questions, though those are questions in the natural, but those questions led me to supernatural answers every single time. I can't think of hardly any time where I didn't find, by asking a question that I was passionate about, that I didn't find answers. And I believe, well, first of all, it's in scripture that you're supposed to ask and knock and all the things, right? So if you're not asking questions, put that down in your notes. Be like, hey girl, it'd be smart to ask some questions rather than just let your hamster wheel run on until it's out of grease. You know what I mean? I'm sure that you could probably type in on YouTube, Chicken Soup for the Soul, ask. They've probably done this talk a bunch of times, is what I'm saying. It had PowerPoints, what I'm saying. So you could probably, if you wanted to look that up, it was powerful to me because it resonated so strongly with me in direct correlation to what I would classify as the direction I wanted to go in my life, successes in my life that I consider successes. And I'm not really talking about money, that too, but I'm talking about successes in my life in regards to outcomes that were the way I would like to see my life play out. Have really, it resonates strong with me that they were pointing back to saying, you probably asked a question. And I started thinking back, and that did connect in my mind. I started asking for answers. And even, it's sort of like praying, but just asking questions, not being afraid to voice your questions, even if you're just talking to yourself, they said. So that's what I wanted to talk about that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so to all the people that are joining out there and wanting to work the business, do you guys have any great advice for, moving forward?
Don't get discouraged. It's
Yes.
different. If it's a different journey for everyone. I mean, completely different journey. And I mean, to set your sights on diamond in the very beginning is great. It's lofty, but you have several steps in between, signing the dotted line and then diamond. Use those steps to get there. I mean, you have to use them. I mean, that's the way there. And don't let unmet goals or dreams, if you give yourself a time period for a certain goal, like 30 days or whatever, if you didn't meet it, it's not that you failed. You learn what not to do. You learn what actually did work. Use that, change your perspective, do it again the next month, do it a little different.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody's race or run is different, and it's going to be. So just it's completely up to you. You either do it or you don't. And it doesn't matter, like she said earlier, it doesn't matter who your upline is, doesn't matter if they're great, doesn't matter if they're bad. It completely rests on what you do or don't do.
Yeah, I would say just two things. Focus on connection with people. I believe from whether you believe in karma or whether you believe in whatever, karma seems to be the word that like people in my faith, they don't like the word, but I don't know another word to replace it. And it's a principle so I don't know. I know there's a word. I just can't think of what it is.
Yeah. And a lot of times you have to change your mindset.
People
are like,
focus on.
Yeah. They're like, well, nothing works for me. This don't work for me, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You said it.
Yeah.
You said it out of your mouth. It's not going to work for you. So that's what you're going to get.
Sorry.
Always.
Focusing on people over profits. One of the people that I'm in their team page, another leader I'm in their team page, her team page is literally called People Over Profit. And that really embodies the way I feel about this business. I can see the synchronicity in that as well. I can see the areas where I would be too highly focused on like a contest or a goal, and I would be, boom, 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 headed in that direction. And the fruitful relationships in my life, and the ones that, like right now when the world is acting super weird, my strongest connections and people that I love talking to and getting feedback from and enjoying conversations with are people that I've made deep connections with in this business. It's really weird to me that my strongest connections right now are people from that I probably really wouldn't have known very well outside of Plexus. Mm-hmm. And so focusing on people over profit, making strong connections and enjoying the journey, which is what he was basically touching on, like wherever you are, that I love that TED talk his name is Sean, I think it's like Achor. I think it looks like Anchor, but it doesn't have an N in it. Where he's talking about you always, if you're working from a place of a recent victory, you're 33% more efficient in what you're trying to do than if you're working from a place of having to catch up or a recent failure. Okay. Now, we know this. Like if you think, if you're a mountain biker and you're racing and you're having to catch up, it's a different mindset than if you're in the lead. Now,
this works just like there's a graphic or meme out there. If you go to a mountain bike race and you see the guy win his race, you're like, oh yeah, he's just fast. All you saw was the tip of the iceberg. you didn't see all the work he did before, the injuries, the way he eats, things he has to do. I mean, those guys are crazy. I do it for fun. But yeah, I mean, I go to the races and sometimes I enter in like a novice, which is beginner. And like I said, us guys just have fun doing it. But there, there's pros and stuff there, and they're awesome, but they live it completely, and that's how they get on the podium. So literally, this business is the same way. I mean, it can work the same way.
If you've recently won, you're more likely to recently win again.
Yeah.
Even if you're not faster than the person you're racing,
Right.
It has to do, it's mindset.
Yep.
I love, but if this resonates with you at all, you need to go watch. It's like a 20-minute talk. He talks about he gives you, he's really funny, really, really funny. He talks about Amy the unicorn, his sister. If you've watched it before, you'll remember, but basically, his take on it, and basically it's basically the way it is, but I'd never thought about it that way. It basically has to it has to do with coming from a mindset of, oh my gosh, well, the mindset of oh my gosh, I'm so excited I just got to this goal, versus I haven't made it to the next goal yet. Mm-hmm. That's two different mindsets. You're sitting in the same chair no matter what.
Right.
But the mindset propels you and gives you momentum. That was huge for me. It was huge for me. Almost anything like that, any TED Talk or anything that you ever listen to. By the way, I love podcasts. I love TED Talks. I love all the things. But almost every one of them, you can look at your life and have a dividing line and be like, I can look and see the way when I did do the things they're talking about, those are the places that I saw momentum, success, whatever. When I didn't do, so like your life is always kind of a split. You can analyze your past based on listening to that type of stuff, and then you make changes accordingly. So changing my mindset, I will tell you, it was not easy for me in the beginning to change my mindset based on a crossing of my fingers, maybe this will work, because I didn't have anybody to tell me. I didn't have anybody in Plexus to tell me, if you'll just shift your mindset. No, I'm watching a video about goodness knows what. It could have been exercise. I don't know. But they're like, if you'll just change your mindset, everything will change. Well, you think, well, maybe it will and maybe it won't. Well, I'm here to tell you, because I have done it in this business both ways. Changing your mindset where it's almost like an invincibility mindset, without calling it that, because that's not a great thing. But if you work from a place of a recent success, everything is different, and the majority of that has to do with how you're looking at it. And so, for example, if your neighbor tells you no, or they're not interested in it right now, or whatever, everything about that right there can propel you forward or can keep you held back. And for me, I had to just figure out ways to flip stuff in my mind, and that has made all the difference. I don't look at anything. Now, I'm not saying I never do, but I have had to train myself to look at things differently and to come from a place of a different perspective and looking at things from rather than what hasn't happened for me. It's like the difference between having a victim mentality versus having a victory mentality. Well, I can do anything. I can do anything if I just set my mind to it, and all these kind of things.
And set your goals small in the beginning.
I agree.
And that's the way it's attainable. And you're like, just make it just one person. It's like, I'd like to get one customer, one ambassador, whatever. Make it one customer first. Get that? Okay, cool. I got that. Let's go get an ambassador. Do that. Because literally, if a fire hose was turned on in front of you, you'd turn and run the other way. So make those small steps.
And I know you're probably going to cut me off in a second, but I have to say one more thing. Okay.
No, you go right ahead.
The thing I didn't know anything about, I saw a graphic about it early in Plexus, and I was so glad that I did. So maybe this will resonate with somebody either on here or somebody that listens to the recording, but I had never heard the distinction between what they call linear income, whoever they are, right? Whoever made this graphic. But it was a picture of a brick wall that had been busted through, and it looked like a football team had busted through a brick wall, and it said, if you knew the distinction between linear versus residual income, you would break through a brick wall to get to it. And I was like, what is that? I don't know what either one of those are. And I began to research it, and what I dug up was that linear income is working for by the hour or by the month, or by a salary, or like, for example, some people just have a base salary or whatever, and time for money, where residual income means, for example, my very first customer who ever signed up with Plexus is still a customer of mine to this day. And the money that I make on that, and I'm talking about a customer, not even ambassador. It's way more when it's an ambassador, not way more money. I'm saying it multiplies because an ambassador creates a team. But let's just talk about one customer. The very first customer of mine that ever tried the product still orders to this day every single month. And I only had to ask them to order once. And that commission that I make off of their order every month is what you would label as residual income, which means work I did in the past accumulates because I get paid on my initial work every single month. I don't have to, for example, if I sold, let me think of something, because I thought of this the other day.
Painting cars, you get paid on that one car that
yes.
one time as you painted it.
Yes.
You don't get paid again.
If I sold, like I used to sell, used to work with a company that like had you sign up for Dish Network or something. I was constantly having to find new people because you only sell that once. That's just a one-time deal, right? I'm talking about every month when these people order again, every time when a new ambassador qualifies, I make money that time. And every single time they qualify, and I'm not having to go back to them month after month and get them to buy, get them to do another thing. And that's the beauty of having products that set us apart, way apart. I had a girl send me a message earlier. Can you take a look at this? And it's some sort of like PowerPoint. And I don't really know what her point was and sent it to me, but it was, it said Plexus PowerPoint doc. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is a Plexus document. I open it up and the document is not about Plexus. The document is of this versus this. And it's talking about how much ProBio 5 cost versus some other, I can't even think of the name of what it was. And then the mistake that they made was leading with ProBio 5. Because theirs is like $5 cheaper. It's a probiotic. It's an add to, not a subtract. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. I didn't have to read anymore. She's like, I don't know if she was asking me, how do I respond to someone sending this to me? Because I'm not sure who she is. How do I respond if someone sends this to me? Or if she's basically trying to convince me of something? My answer was the same either way. I didn't get to read this whole document. Here's what I'm going to say. Girl, I can't read all this. I don't have time. I got a call I got to be on. But I didn't really say that, but I didn't have to read any further than to see a price comparison chart between ProBio 5 and anything else on the market, because I have had friends leave for something that was shinier or perhaps less expensive. What this reminds me of is I've been trying these fun little stickers that you put on your nails. And the other day, I saw those same stickers in another store and I bought some. I put them on today. They were less expensive. How am I going to know whether I want to keep buying these other stickers or not? Or if I want to go back to the ones that cost more? That will probably be determined over the next week as I determine if these ones pull off of my fingers and don't look very good after a few days, and the ones that may have cost $5 more did, because I'm not interested in something that's going to look like crap on my fingers. Do you understand what I'm saying? If it's $5 cheaper, I'm not really interested in that. And I can for sure, and this is how I answered her, I can for sure tell you or anybody else who's interested in knowing the answer to this, if it's $5 cheaper of a probiotic, which I can guarantee you is an add, not a subtract, as far as what it will do for your immune system, I can tell you for sure that's a wasted. I think if ours was, let's say ours is 30 and this one was 25. I can't remember what her chart said. I don't know if it was comparing wholesale or whatever. That's $25 wasted rather than $30 well spent. That makes sense. I'm not going to spend $25 on something that's different than the products that literally saved my life. And she goes, thank you so much. And so then I knew, okay, she was looking, I didn't know if she was trying to persuade me or not, but I didn't have to look very far. And my inbox every morning, hey, did you know? Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I can't even believe this went away, that went away. I had this, and now it's gone. Nobody's ever going to persuade me to go anywhere other than this. And that really comes down to the fact that our products are the most effective products on the market, and our comp plan pays out more generously than anything I've ever seen in my life. And so I guess I don't, you didn't really ask me that question, but I couldn't get off of here without saying there's no comparison on either end. Most companies have an either or. Hang on, I got a tickle in my throat. Will you get your I'm talking too much. Can you talk to sugar?
Yeah. Yeah, she had a tickle in her throat. I had to go get some water.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, I do the same thing. Sometimes I get to talking so fast and so passionate about it. I'm like, hold on, team. Let me get a drink of my water.
I've got my water jug close, so.
Yep. So I know what that's like.
That's another thing. Always drink your water.
Yep.
Always, always.
Trust me, I'm learning slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do a gallon.
Greg has no problem. I mean, that boy can drink that water like it's no tomorrow. And I'm like, I have to force myself. Okay, let's see. I need to drink one more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need one of those jugs like you. And then that way.
Yeah. I just got, I don't know what brand that thing is. It really doesn't matter, but
what size bottle is it?
It's a gallon jug.
Oh,
it's
wow.
It's metal. So yeah. Here she's back. Hang on.
I got on such a roll, I got steamed up on y'all.
I was telling Jeddie that happens to me sometimes when I'm talking to the team. I get so fast.
A tickle in my throat.
Hold on a minute.
I don't even know what I was saying. So I'll just say, and that's all I had to say about that.
There you go. I love it. Okay, so that's all the questions. But anyway, first of all, I want to say thank you guys for doing the Zoom call tonight. And I think that like when I was talking to you guys earlier about when Greg went to his first Lori and Jeddie meeting, and on the way home he said, I want to go the Lori and Jeddie way. So who's ready to go the Lori and Jeddie way, guys? We all are. So anyway, but like I say, thank you guys for taking the time to do this. And Lori, if you could for us real quick, do like a little prayer for us, pray over the team and everything, and we sure would appreciate it.
Well, first I want to say that I love you guys. I love this team. I love your style of leadership. You guys are probably the greatest example that I have of connecting. Mm-hmm. I love the way you guys do that. I see the way that you create a culture on your team that is beautiful, and it's something to be modeled after. And that's not knocking any other. I've got other legs of my team on here, but really, it's just an arrow pointing toward the way you guys do culture on your team. Yeah. I love it, and it's better than even the way I do it. So that's what I'm saying. It's better. It's really good, and one plexus, very much a one plexus family, and it makes me starry-eyed to think about it. It's really great. You're lucky to be on Don and Greg's team.
Well, okay, real quick, I want to say thank you for that. And, because we learn from you guys and we learn from so many other people, and it's funny that you talked about connection, because last week on our live, because I do a live call with our team, and I actually talked about the importance of connecting, how important it is with people. Because it's very important when you got to build that relationship with people.
Yeah.
And
so, people know if you're trying to sell them on something. People know if you're trying to sell them on something. And it's just,
and if you're not interested in the connection.
Yeah. This business is sharing what it's done for you, basically. Yeah. So
culture, what do they say? They say something, culture eats something for strategy. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that's every day, every hour of every day of every year. And I know that because I can look at the difference between my business and my business strategies these days versus my business strategies, when we first started. And for example, I used to be all about the contest, and I could go back to that at any given time if the mood struck me. But the fact is, having strong culture prevents me from having to, if I don't want to, win the contest, because my business stays afloat and super sturdy based on the fact that we have a strong culture. People get over here and they don't really want to go anywhere else, and they don't want to quit using the products. I've educated well on the products. That's kind of been my strong suit, is educating well on the products and creating a culture of friendship and love within our team. And so I wanted to kind of magnify that and just say that that's something I'm sure you do all kinds of things great, but that is something that I actually noticed without even having to be asked, what do you notice, is how well you guys do that. And so I couldn't get off this call without saying that. And I'll make this prayer quick. I do want to turn on my whole tones. That always helps me focus better. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, close your ears in case it's really loud. I don't think it is, but there it goes. I'll turn it down a little bit. I feel like I just want to lift up gratitude tonight, because this call has been very light and airy. And so I feel like that's what the prayer should be about, is just being grateful. Father God, we thank you for our opportunity to connect with more people on our team and to share more information. I'm thankful for every person who is on this call live with us tonight or will get on this call. And I just pray for an even more increased, bigger anointing on Dawn and Greg and their team and their style of leadership, God, that you would even partner with them even more and more, that the Holy Spirit would even cover them even more and more in a way that is so attractive. And the reason I pray it this way is because I feel that they are a safe place and a good place for people to join arms with. I just believe that when you're shining in an area that is about other people, that there should be a magnet attached to you that attracts more, because you guys service people's hearts well. And so I just claim and I declare and decree more and more and more of that on you guys and your team. And that may it be so infectious that it's spread all across my team. Anybody who's on this call tonight, if that's something that you would like to have more of, I just say ask in the Spirit. So that's something I want more of. I want to know answers and strategies that would be more in line with an incredible culture on my team. Father God, give us answers, give us godly strategies to partner with heaven in regards to how to walk out deeper relationships, how to let go of old ways of dealing with like trauma responses, or basically, I'm seeing kind of like survival skills. Sometimes we have knee-jerk reactions to people and relationships, and that can get in the way and harm future relationships. So I'm asking tonight for a clean slate where we don't carry old baggage with us into new shiny relationships, and even relationships that we have, that we would let go of old baggage. And I'm claiming and declaring and decreeing fresh starts where fresh starts need to be, letting go of regret, letting go of excuses, and just walking in the truth of what God's got a purpose for every single one of you. This is something I know without even having to do any digging. And I see Plexus as a way. I don't see Plexus as everybody's purpose. I see Plexus as a way to free you up, to walk into your purpose, because you have more time, because you have more freedom, and because you have more finances to, I look at it like, that game Tetris that you used to play. When you see, I feel my life is kind of like this. when you see a need, a spot that needs filling, it's way easier to fill that spot if you have the resources to do it. And God, I just want to partner with that tonight. And anybody else who wants to, just say it. Just say it in your heart. Say it out loud, whatever you want to. I want to partner with heaven's strategies and heaven's resources so that I can shine light on more people, so that I can love on people more, so that I can be part of something even bigger, so I can really fill out this purpose and plan and calling that you have on my life tonight. Or, I mean, I want to do it tonight. I want to start it tonight. But the purpose and calling that you have on me for my future, I pray that it starts tonight, that something supernatural would open up, that you would even have dreams and visions in the supernatural that would be so in line with God's purpose that you would be able to have the supernatural courage, like an increase in supernatural courage over your life, so that you would be able to walk out what God's plan is for you. I have been able to be so much freer in my life with my children, with my time, with being the influence over my children, and with being able to be readily available for my family, and to fill in those fill in those little needs, those blocks, those Tetris places for other people in my life, not just my family. When there's a need, I am so grateful to have the resource. And Father God, I just pray that whatever that is, that mantle, that anointing would be spread out, that we would not have scarcity mindset, that we would have the mindset that there's enough for everybody. Trust me when I say that sickness, unfortunately, is not in rare form. I should say sickness is not hard to come by these days. There's a lot of people out there who really, really need to make a connection with one of us. There's a lot of people in each one of your lives who need the connection that you have to offer, the friendship that you have to offer, the immune system education that you have to offer, the financial freedom that you have to offer. God, these unprecedented times that we're living in, Lord, that you would allow us to be light in the darkness. God, that you would magnify our hearts, and that your heart would be magnified through us, and that you would shine through us in this time. And that we could link arms with divine strategies and walk out our purposes in this time. I'm so grateful for this team, and for anybody who's on this, and anybody who's listening to this video. If anybody on here tonight has really never had felt a divine connection, has never felt connected to God, ask. It's really simple. It gets all churchified. People churchify it a lot and can make it more complicated than it really is. But I believe the part I believe so strongly in is that God is the author and finisher of your faith. That means he's playing on the same team as you. You just kind of have to play on the same team too. So asking means that synchronicity is going to open up for you, and you're going to find divine strategies, divine help. And you're going to step more into the mindset and beliefs and values and purposes that he designed you to be in the first place. And I just decree that over you right now in Jesus' mighty name. Thanks for hopping on here tonight, guys. Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording.